of you, by a show of hands, are really excited about finishing high school and moving on to college? To moving on to all the freedom that that represents, to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, to have your own voice and make your own choices. I thought a lot about that during my senior year. I often said, when I have my diploma, I'll be an adult. I'll be able to date who I want, wear what I want, and do whatever I want. I'll be free. You see, high school was tough. I'm sure it is for many of you. You might be dealing with social troubles, parental growing pains, expectations, and maybe even heartache. I remember waiting for that final bell to ring, to shake the principal's hand, for the senior party to end. I couldn't wait for graduation night because the next day I was moving. I had everything I owned packed up and stuffed into my two-door Chevy, all in anticipation of tomorrow. And I remember thinking, my life is about to begin. You see, my parents and I went head-to-head in disagreements my senior year over my high school boyfriend. So often and so much that I felt like I spent most of the year grounded or in a conflict or recovering from our last argument. It escalated to the point I spent the rest of the year living with my grandmother. Now, that should have been a saving grace, but the reality is that every day when I finished my homework, she would put me to work doing manual labor. So neither environment exactly had the independence that I was seeking, the independence that I was sure all of my friends had, right? So the idea of freedom in college was something that meant everything to me. And even though I was only moving 1 hour away from my parents, as far as freedom, I could have been crossing an ocean. And I vowed that everything would be different. And guess what? I didn't get the perfect job, or the perfect roommate, or straight A's all year. And because my idea of how freshman year would play out didn't happen exactly as I dreamed it would, I was disappointed. I felt like I had let myself down. High school. How often do we do that? Do we say, when I have this, then I can do that, and I'll be this? When I have my diploma, I'll have the independence to make my own decisions, and I'll be free. When I win that award, I'll have the confidence to stand up for what I believe in. I'll be brave. Sometimes I got all of those things, but you know what? It never quite felt exactly like I expected it would. Salesperson of the year, my article published, that promotion at work. But that elusive feeling of accomplishment that I was looking for, I just never felt it. Or if I did, it was short-lived. So I'd make another goal. Those are my goal boards. I would make another vision board. I would make something else that I needed to obtain or achieve to feel whole. And I constantly was doing this over and over and over again, until finally, nearly 20 years after graduating high school, it's true, I finally uncovered the secret to really having it all, to finally having my own finger on the pulse of the thermostat of my own fulfillment. So how many of you would be interested in saving 20 years and diving in a lot faster to all the joy that life can offer you? To understand the impact of living in the now and not spending time wasting, fantasizing about what has yet to come. So uncross your legs, put your feet on the ground, put your palms facing up in your lap, and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Visualize all of the things that you've ever wanted. The things that you've saved on Instagram that you've pinned on Pinterest, that you've put on a vision board. Those things that you've put into a sentence like, when I have this, I will, or I can. Maybe it's the car, the relationship, the vacation. Maybe it's that full ride to the college of your choice, or the lead in the school play. Now imagine that you have it. That goal that you wanted so badly you've obtained. How does it feel? And what can you do once you've achieved it? Imagine yourself flying down the freeway, the music blaring in your new car, your friends in the back laughing, that feeling of freedom, or that full ride. Imagine not suffocating under the stress of waiting for college acceptance letters, not worrying about your parents taking on extra debt, paying for your tuition and expenses and books. The ability to be able to spend your senior year and college just focus on your academics. So now that you have all of those things that you've wanted, and that you're able to do all the things you've always wanted to do, what will that allow you to be? Will you be more confident as you walk down the hallways as the school play lead? Will you hold your head high? Will you start to volunteer because it feels so good and not because you're trying to fill out a line on your college application? Now open your eyes. Generous, grateful, happy, abundant. What were you allowed to be when you had everything and were able to do everything that you'd ever dreamed of? Now, what's stopping you from being more of that right now? From being happier, healthier, more abundant, more generous? It's not a physical thing. It's not a relationship. It's not an accomplishment. Imagine what it would feel like to walk out of your house tomorrow as that person. How would your habits change? What would it feel like to become that? And what's stopping you? It's just a choice. You see, the real secret is not about having it all. In fact, it's not about having at all. The secret to having it all is believing that you already do, or be living. You see, you must be in a be state, not a do state, so that everything that you've ever wanted can come with so much more flow and ease. After all, when you're in a do state, you should do this and you should do that. Well, you should stop shoulding all over yourself. Okay. After all, you are human beings, not human doings. So, the secret that I learned is be, do, have. Now, there have been times in my life that I've struggled. 8 years ago, I lost everything. My life hit rock bottom during the recession. I lost my income, my home, my savings, my peace of mind. And my boyfriend was fighting stage 4 cancer. And as I sat in the hospital room next to his bed, I was afraid to leave for fear that his health would take a turn for the worst. And yet, I was worried about my job, that if I took more time off work, I'd be at risk at losing it. Happiness should have been far away. But surprisingly, I had moments of intense joy, of laughter, of fun. I wasn't thinking about my overdrawn bank account or worrying about my job. I was focusing on the moment, on just being in the moment. It was the only thing that mattered to wring out every bit of life because the future was entirely uncertain. And beyond the sanctuary of those hospital walls, I was living in the real world, where I was full of extreme anxiety and stress and fear. And I set my sights for better days, and I vowed to myself that when I got back on my feet, I would never forget what it felt like to be so out of control and so helpless. And I vowed that I would give generously to those that were struggling, not with a hand out, but with a hand up. So for years, I would tell myself, when I have a certain income, it'll allow me to give generously. But I constantly felt like I was working so hard, and yet I was on this hamster wheel where I just wasn't there yet. That generous self was just out of reach. Until a day that I got really tired of the unfulfillment of not being that person I wanted to be. And I changed my mindset. And I started asking, how can I be more impactful? How can I be more generous now, today, in what I do, in what I say, and in what I give? So I started to give weekly. It didn't matter what I had or how little I was able to give, because I was operating in the B mindset of generosity, and by being in the B, I was able to do what I wanted, which was to give. So a few months ago, I heard a story of this young teenage girl in the foster system with a 2-year-old boy of her own. And she was getting on a bus every morning at 6 a.m. with her toddler in tow, taking that bus an hour each way back and forth to school in order to earn her diploma. And there was no one to help her, no family, help her realize those dreams she had of being a nurse. A few years ago, that story would have really spoken to me, and I would have said, oh gosh, I would love to help. I might have even found a way to give $100, but not in the mindset I have today. So I asked myself, what can I do today that is the most impactful? How can I be my most generous? And the answer was easy, is to gift her a car. So I took my vision to Facebook, and I shared with some friends, and several of them donated, and we raised a few $1,000s. And I reached out to a friend who is a trusted mechanic, and he helped me look for cars. And 2 weeks later, I had the honor of hand-delivering that car to that young woman. And when she thanked us, she said, I never knew that strangers would do something like this for me. And so with that act of generosity, we were able to show her a different world than the one she knew. You see, what I got out of it was a feeling of impact, of happiness. And I got out of it a will to live to give, because being in a generous state made it easy. So stop working on the to-have list and the to-do list, because they are never going to end. Today's homework is to create a to-be list. And you're going to go home and write down, what are all the things that you want to be? Define them. Be clear about what they are. If you want to be happier, do things that resonate with happiness. If you want to be generous, give of yourself. If you want to be helpful, help someone in need. And you're going to face challenges. And when you do, think about the you 5 or 10 years from now and what they would do. The you that is heard, that is impactful, that is confident. The you that every day makes a conscious choice to give their best over and over, not perfectly, but in a way that constantly moves you forward. Because what is this all about? How do you be in a B state? You just decide. You decide. And what is life? It's years and days and moments. You decide the moment that creates the day. You decide the day that creates the year, and the years that create the life. So, your challenge. Something that Seth Godin said is, sure, it's been done before, but not by you and not for us. Other people can have what you have, they can do what you do, but they can never be you. So focus on the be, on being uniquely you. And when you leave this room today, you have a choice. You have a voice, so just be you.